Morning, guys. Welcome to the current affairs session. Here I'll be discussing all of the important topics that are necessary for UPSC. Right. So let us start with the session. First, editorial is talking about how PACOM, the deeper meaning behind the crowd prefix. So basically, it was Indo-PACOM, meaning that it was Indo-Pacific Command. Right. Now, what happened is that USA has dropped that Indo-Pacific to US Pacific PACOM, meaning that it has focused on only PACOM. So, what does this particular change mean? And is it really true? What is going to happen? And what are the repercussions of change in this particular terminology? And what are the things that USA is trying to do? And how it is trying to change its own perspective of geopolitical tensions or geopolitical ideologies? This is what this editorial is talking about. Firstly, it says that how that USA had renamed, right? It has renamed Indo-Pacific Command, and it is not just a change in terminology. Right? It is just not a change in terminology. Rather, it is changing what it actually means or what USA actually believes in. Right? And the author believes that this is nothing but how USA, right? This is nothing but how USA has changed its policy in all of the three regions, meaning that it's in the Indo-Pacific and China, and also in the West Asia, and also in South Asia. In these three regions, how India has changed its, I mean, USA has changed and your ideology is what this editorial is talking about. Firstly, it says that in earlier the what you call term Indo-Pacific Indo-Pacific highlighted that the US strategy included India more. It says that in the earlier strategy where it was Indo-Pacific, they included India more. Now, as they changed it only to PACOM, right, Pacific Command, what does it show? It shows that it has stopped relying on India. It is that it has stopped relying on India for the support in the Indo-Pacific region. That is the first thing. Second thing is that the author believes the United States has changed its ideology towards China. I think that is something that everyone needs to register. But I don't think USA would change its ideology towards China because the rivalry has been long-standing, and China, I don't think, would settle for a number two guy or a partnership guy. Right? China would always imagine or think of itself as the top person or the top country. So in this particular editorial, it's saying that USA has reduced its tensions or its focus from aggressiveness to passiveness. Right? It is not being aggressive towards China, saying that USA and China are more towards becoming friends and trying to dominate the Asian region together. Imagine that happening. Imagine USA and China together dominating Asia. I mean, that would be the end of all of the organizations that are there, be it this ARK or be it Asian or any other organization that is actually present and is trying to support the Asian region, right? Once USA and China come together, and that's it for all of these particular nations or particular organizations, right? So here the Indo-Pacific appears to be improving in the relations, right? High level where there is high amount of US and China cooperation, and Donald Trump visiting China and China visiting USA, and then you have a G2 world order, which is in discussion. G2 world order is nothing but USA and China together being part. As I was saying just now, G2 where USA and China become a part and dominate things. Right? That is what is happening. And other than that, there is impact on India. What is the impact on India when all of this is happening? Honestly, when these kind of things are happening, there's huge impact on India because China is India's rival. USA is India's friend. But if India and USA and China become friends, then who would USA support more? Obviously, it is not India. Because if you actually see here, when Israel, Iran, and USA war was happening, right? Israel, Iran, USA war was happening. USA's allies were Saudi Arabia, UAE, all of these countries who were actually depending on USA for protection. But when Iran attacked these countries, USA did not do anything. It only saw its own interest. So what does this show? This shows that USA does not think of anyone as an actual family or an actual partner. It only looks at its own self-interest. So that is one thing we have to notice. And whenever things like these are happening, where USA and China are actually becoming close, then India should actually diversify its connections. Even Russia wouldn't be a proper connection because China and Russia are allies. And if Russia had to choose between China and USA, I mean China and India, obviously it would choose China only because there's a major amount of trade is happening from where? From Russia to China only. So if you actually see, India is is at a point where there is high amount of disadvantage. There is very high amount of disadvantage if USA actually becomes an ally to China. Right? So that is the first thing that is there in this particular territory, and it also says that how the Quad can lose importance. Quad is what? Quad is nothing but a grouping which would protect Indo-Pacific. From whom? Mainly it is China. Mainly China. But if China and USA become allies, what is the use of Quad? There's no use of Quad at all, and the relevance of Quad actually decreases. Right? Then you have the West Asia. The West Asian crisis is a joke. USA fought for so long. USA gave threatens to Iran. USA bombed Iran. USA supported Israel in bombing Iran. At the end of the day, what happened? USA gave a free hand to Iran. It is giving funds for reconstruction of Iran. It has given some power to Iran to control the Strait of Hormuz. Now, what is happening to all the regional powers that are there? UAE, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Turkey. What are they going to do? They have nothing. They depended on USA for so long. Now USA is not doing anything. It is only supporting Iran now. Iran is the strongest power in that particular area now. Basically, people told that it was USA's part of hegemony where it wants to control what you call the power in the West Asian region, but it could not control. What does it mean? Is it failure of USA or is it the success of Iran? Obviously, it is the success of Iran. Now, obviously, when these kind of things are happening, USA has to change things. Iran and USA are actually becoming close now. What kind of a situation this would be, right? And India, thinking that Iran is actually against and USA is actually pro, India went against Iran. India put sanctions on Iran. India said that we are not going to do this from Iran. We are not going to do that from Iran. We are going to put restrictions on oil imports from Iran. These are the things that India did. Believing what? Believing that USA would do something to Iran. But at the end of the day, USA did not do anything to Iran. And who was the loser at the ultimate? India. Because India supported USA a lot. This geopolitical tensions or geopolitical ties that are actually happening around the world are very, what do you call it, haphazard, right? And India has to be very cautious when these kind of things are happening. You cannot just put down your guard. Put down your guard saying that this particular country is very powerful, so I'll protect this, I will support this particular country. You cannot say that. You never know when a country might fall down. If you remember World War One and World War Two, all of the superpowers, what happened? After the World War ended, what happened? They fell down. That is when USA and Russia came into emergence. So you never know at what time what will happen. So India has to maintain a separate policy. Only when it maintains a separate policy, not by supporting many other countries, then it would be on a balanced line. That is the second aspect. And third aspect, obviously, is South Asia. South Asia is the third aspect. We actually see there is high amount of control or high amount of involvement of USA in South Asian countries as well. Be it Sri Lanka, be it Indonesia, be it Vietnam. USA is actually more making more ties with all of these countries. When USA is making ties with all of these countries, what is happening? It is going to reduce its reliance on India. Previously thought that India is something that it could rely on, rather than relying on all of these other countries like Bangladesh, Vietnam, Indonesia. USA could just rely on India, but now it is changing its ideology, changing its perspective, changing its what do you call foreign policy, changing its foreign policy, and doing what USA would never do in life. First one is supporting China. Second one is supporting Iran. Third one is going to other countries other than India. These are the things that USA is doing. I don't know what the ultimate motive is, but this wouldn't actually look forward, right? This is the These are the things. Firstly, it is China. Second aspect is West Asia. Third aspect is South Asia. These are all the regions which USA is trying to control by changing the name from PACOM, Indo-PACOM to PACOM, US-PACOM, Indo-PACOM to US-PACOM, meaning that USA and Pacific Command, not Indo and Pacific Command. Right now, there is some critical analysis. Obviously, whenever these kind of things are happening, what is the critical analysis? Firstly, you have to look at the symbolism. What is the symbolism talking about? It's talking about how USA's foreign policies are changing or its priorities are changing. If USA has understood that the things that are happening here are not normal. It was not like 50 years back. 50 years back, USA was very powerful and whatever USA did happened. Now everything is growing and everything is changing. Many new countries are coming. Many new powerful countries are coming. When all of these countries are coming, what is USA going to do? Obviously, it has to change its priorities. Now, according to the author is saying that by changing the terms from Indo-PACOM to US-PACOM, it is changing its priorities. It's trying to become something better for its own good. Right? That is the first thing, symbolism. And second thing is that high strategic uncertainty. This high amount of strategic uncertainty. Mainly for whom? Mainly for India. India cannot support. India cannot go further. India cannot go against. All of this is happening. There's high amount of strategic uncertainty here. That is the second aspect. First is this, second is this, and third aspect is that the strategic autonomy that India needs, right, is aligning with this principle. Meaning that previously USA, what would it do? It would ensure that a particular country is under sanction so that it would follow its own policy. Now India has chance to follow its own policy. Right? It has chance to follow its own policy and become in line with the principles that it has. Now, while all of this is thesis meaning that what the author is saying, there is always an antithesis. Right? What is antithesis? Antithesis is nothing but opposite of this. Maybe what the author is saying could be true. Right? Maybe what the author is saying that it is USA is becoming closer to China. USA is actually supporting Iran. USA is focusing on other countries rather than India. This might be true, but the antithesis is that this might not be true. We The author might be assuming so much from this one particular change. How can you assume? Did USA just say that it is going to support China? No. The gravity of USA and China's rivalry is very high. Obviously, USA wouldn't back down and support for a particular country, right? That is something we actually have to keep in mind. There might be an antithesis, right? First thing is antithesis, where we are reading too much just from a change of name. Second one is that uh, the Quad alliance is not dead. Still not dead, meaning that obviously USA has to have relations with countries like India, Australia, and Japan. It is not only China. Just because it has a relation with China doesn't mean that it has to leave other countries. No, right? That is the second aspect. That is an antithesis. And the third aspect is that there is very low chance of SARC being revived. And the main reason why SARC being revived is a challenge is because of Indo or India-Pakistan relationship. And I don't think that India-Pakistan relationship will become better anytime soon. As it is not becoming better anytime soon, there's a high likely chance that SARC might not be revived as soon as possible. Right? So that is all about this particular editorial. Here, the next editorial is talking about clearing the road to timely trauma care in India. Right? It's talking about timely trauma care. Now, what is trauma care? Trauma care is nothing but an accident. For example, let's say uh, you are going on the road. You're going on the road and you see an ex-person getting hit by a vehicle, and that person is bleeding, and you're taking that person to hospital. And the hospital says that we cannot admit this particular person because we do not have information about this person. We need all the information, your information, the money that is required for this treatment. Only then we'll put him in care. What would that do? That would violate the right to life. Right to life is part of what? Article 21. So Supreme Court has said that the trauma care, which is nothing but an accident care, is under right to life under Article 21. That is what Supreme Court has said through this particular case. The Save Life Foundation. Save Life Foundation was the case. The Save Life Foundation, Supreme Court said that it is trauma care is a fundamental right. In this, there are some stats that are given. Right? There are some stats saying that nearly 4.67 lakh 4.67 lakh Indians die every year. Every year. Every year through what? Through road crashes, falls, burns, all of these. 4.6 lakhs. This is the first stat. Secondly, it says that nearly 1.77 lakh deaths alone through road crash. It says that 50% of the accidents that happen can be preventable. Right? If there was timely care or if there was something happening, if someone actually took care, 50% of the deaths would be preventable. So that is what it is saying, right? These are all the stats that are given in this particular editorial. Now, while all of this is given, right, it is talking about how it is a what do you call cooperative federalism approach. It's talking about a cooperative federalism approach. What is cooperative federalism? Where state and center together cooperate with each other and ensure that something is happening and something happening good, right? Because public health or roads, all of these are what? Part of state, meaning that they're part of state list in the SEM schedule. Now, center can help in implementation so that these things can work properly and all the people who are actually in these kind of situations are taken care of. Right? That is one thing. Now, what did Supreme Court say in this particular judgment? The first thing that Supreme Court said that is you have to incorporate all the emergency numbers under 112 in 3 months. Now, what are the emergency numbers? There is 100. 100 is police. Then 101, that is fire. There's 102, that is ambulance. 108 is emergency. Right? 1033 is highway emergency. And 1091 is women helpline. Supreme Court said that you have to integrate all of these numbers in 112, meaning that if you dial 112, you can get access. You will get access to all of these. Right? That is the first direction that Supreme Court gave. The second direction that Supreme Court gave is the Good Samaritan law. Good Samaritan. Who's a Good Samaritan? For example, you are there. You are walking on the road and you see some person who has met with an accident, and you took that person to the hospital. Now they say that this particular person has severe injuries, so you have to talk to the police now. So they call the police, and the police come to you and they investigate you. And they say that you have to stay here till 4 to 5 days. You have to come to the police station every day to sign the particular sheets. So if anything is this complicated, would a person be willing to help? Hmm? Obviously not. A person would think, rather than disrupting my life, I would rather let someone else take care of it. That way, no one is taking care of it, and that person is dying. This is how 50% of the deaths can actually be preventable. So that is why Supreme Court said that Good Samaritan should be something there. Right? The state has to bring in laws for Good Samaritan. Good Samaritan should become there. There should be some protection for Good Samaritans so that there is no harassment. Right. The second aspect that the Supreme Court said is Good Samaritans. So the third thing is strengthening the ambulance care. Right. They have to be registered to the 112 helpline. They have to connect to the GPS properly. Only then they will be able to reach in time. Otherwise, they'll not be able to reach in time. That is the third thing that Supreme Court said. And the fourth thing that Supreme Court said that is that hospital-based trauma care. And hospital-based trauma care is nothing but how you categorize the trauma. You categorize trauma based on the grade of the trauma or the what you call category of trauma. Only when you categorize these kind of traumas, then it would be easy for a person to take that person to a particular hospital. Rather than taking that person to any hospital, you will take to that particular hospital and the treatment will be right. So that is the fourth aspect. And the last aspect is government scheme, right? Came with PM Rahat, right? PM Rahat. PM Rahat is nothing but road accident hospitalization, right? Hospitalization and mm, road accident victim, right? Road accident victim hospitalization and assured treatment. This is the scheme that Supreme Court said to bring in. What is the scheme? The scheme is nothing but where there is cashless treatment. If you actually take a person to a particular what do you call hospital, they if you have this PM Rahat card or something, then there's no need for you to pay cash. So they would start on with the treatment and the person will be alive. So that is what PM Rahat is. These are the things that Supreme Court has directed. While the Supreme Court has directed all of these, there are some things that you actually have to keep in mind. What are the things that you have to keep in mind? The thing is that you are bringing in all the schemes, but is India ready, or does India have the right amount of what do you call capabilities or infrastructure? No, India does not have many hospitals. First one, many hospitals India does not have. What about the rural areas where all the hospitals are not there? There are no facilities, there is no doctors. Third thing is that there is no specialists. There are no trauma care specialists in India. Everyone is either a pediatrician or what do you call neurosurgeon. All the high earning what do you call specializations, right? There's no one specializing in trauma care. So that is another aspect. These are the three things that are the challenges that are present in this particular article, right? So that's about this particular article. Next, we have sustaining India's low fertility future. Basically, this editorial is talking about how India's TFR is currently at 1.9. India's total fertility rate is 1.9, and the replacement level is 2.1. Right? Replacement level is nothing but if the population is at 2.1, then there would not be any population decline. If it was 2.2, there would be population incline. If it is 2.0, then there would be population decline. The population would be stable if it would be 2.1. So that is what replacement level is. Now, the article is saying that India's total fertility rate is 1.9, meaning that in future, the population would obviously reduce. As the population is reducing, what is India doing? India is not doing anything. India cannot focus on anything, right? We have many states such as Tamil Nadu, Delhi, then Kerala, right? Delhi's fertility rate is 1.2. Kerala's fertility rate is 1.2. Tamil Nadu is 1.3. West Bengal is 1.3. But there are some states which have high amount of fertility rate. For example, UP is 2.6. Then you have MP is 2.3. Then you have Bihar 2.9. What does this show? This shows that the total fertility rate in India is not stable. It is changing, right? So it also indicates that southern states are aging in population, whereas The northern states such as Bihar, MP, and UP have high amount of young population. So there would be high amount of discrimination as well. So that is the first thing this editor is talking about. And then it is saying how India may become old before becoming rich. What does that mean? Meaning that over the time, our TFR is 1.9, meaning that over the time, our population will decrease and will have more aging population. But what you need to keep in mind is that even countries like Japan, Italy, all of these are also aging population. But what is the difference? The difference is that they became rich first and then aging happened. Japan, Italy, Russia, all of these are what? Japan, Italy, Russia, Sweden, all of these are aging populations. But firstly, they became rich, then they became old. But in India's situation, it's completely different. India, it's becoming old and is still not rich. It's still very poor. What happens if a country is not rich and is poor and is aging? There would be high amount of financial burden. There will be high amount of financial burden, and India will not be able to take care of everything. Right. So that is what this editorial is saying, and saying that how India is not ready for an aging population because we have a weak pension system. Weak pension system. Weak pension system meaning that obviously there is high amount of contribution. Right. For gig workers, there is no particular pension. There is no particular pension for semi-formal employment, semi-informal employment. This is the problem with the aging population that India has currently. So India has to do something, right? It has to change its policies. It has to ensure there is a high amount of skill generation so that India can become rich, can become sustainable rather than taking more loans. India has to generate more amount of industries so that it can be able to sustain the aging population. These are the things that India has to focus on. And as long as India does not focus on all of these things, India is going to suffer. Because by 2050, nearly 20% of the population will become old. That doesn't mean that the rest 80% is very young. The rest 80% is trying nearly old, meaning that let's say 60 is old. The rest of the population could be near 50s or 45s. 45 and 50 is still not very young. It's still old, but is not that young, that problematic. So India has to do something to change all of these things. Only when it brings in change, things will things will start to settle. Otherwise, India would have to suffer by the time it reaches 2050. So that is all about today's newspaper analysis. Hope you guys have learned a lot. Thank you guys. See you guys in the next class.